Hi, today the lecture is about research ethics. Part 2 is on case studies. I have another lecture on part 1, which is the principles. Case studies. After this lecture, you should be able to watch out for areas where you might violate research ethics and discuss situations of unclear research ethics using the principles. So when to consider research ethics? From the very beginning of the study, when we do literature review, all the way until we complete the study and report the results. So during literature review time, we should avoid plagiarism, cite information. Number 2, permission for study. It is important to get ethical clearance for the study from authorities and also to get participant consent to participate in the study. 3, data collection. It is important that researchers are neutral and do not lead participants to give certain kind of answers. And we should never, ever fabricate or falsify data. 4, data analysis stage. We should transcribe interviews accurately and also whatever recordings accurately. And finally, when reporting results, we should interpret the results accurately and do not misrepresent what the questionnaire data, text analysis data, or interview data show us. So these are important principles, and we are going to use some of these principles when we look at the case studies later. Before going into the case study, we need to talk about where we are going to write about the ethics. Quiz 1. In your final year project report or thesis, which section should you report the ethics of getting the participants to fill in the questionnaire? You know, this is about telling them about the study, talking about anonymity, confidentiality of data, etc., etc. So where should all these be described? A, research design. B, participants. C, instrument. D, data collection procedures. E, data analysis procedures. The answer is D, data collection procedures, because we are talking about getting the participants to fill in the questionnaire. We are collecting data from them. So it goes into data collection procedure section, and we talk about the research ethics. Quiz number 2. What should you do if you get 150 questionnaires and 2 of them are incomplete because some questions were not filled in? What should you do? A, the researcher can fill in the missing responses. By looking at how they respond elsewhere, you figure out what they might have responded. B, do not use the 2 questionnaires when analyzing results. The answer is B. This is the filtering stage that occurs. Anything incomplete or participants that do not fulfill the selection criteria, we eliminate them as participants. That's why we should always collect data from more participants than we target, in case some of these missing responses or incomplete responses are there among our data. And now, case study 1, obtaining permission for the study. This is a real case that happened to my friend who did this study. In a study on autistic children, some parents came to the interview session expecting to get the latest scientific information on autism. They thought that my friend was a great researcher, a great maybe psychologist of some kind. The researcher explained that she was there to do a research, but the parents said that they had been cheated into attending the session. They wanted to leave. What do you do if you were my friend, the researcher? I know in the past when I presented this case, some people told me they just let the parents leave. Okay, you think about it. There are not many children with autism, thankfully, and therefore there are even less parents who are having autistic children and wanting to participate in the study. They made the time and they took the effort to come to the session already. As a researcher, we are desperate for data. Do not say you have the right to leave. Find out what actually happened. It turned out that the Autism Society personnel who called the parents did not say that it was a research because he was afraid that the parents would not come. And he was quite right about that. So what to do now? If you were my friend, what would you do? For me, I would appeal to the parents. I would apologize, yes. Even though I did not mislead them, it was the Autism Society personnel who misled them. I need to take responsibility because I asked this person to help me get the parents to the session. I have to take responsibility, and it's not the place for me to blame this other person. I apologize and say, I'm really sorry. Let me explain. Can you please give me a few minutes? So tell them that this is for my master's or my undergraduate studies or my PhD, and please help me by answering some questions on how you handle your autistic child. And then by appealing to them, they might actually stay and help, and then say, at the end of the session, I will share with you the latest findings on autism, what the researchers have found out. Yes, it is not mine. I am not the great researcher that they thought I was, but I have read my literature and I know what are the latest findings, and I could be the channel to share it with the parents. And why not? I can give an impromptu talk. This is the least I can do in return for the time they have given. They may have to take leave to come. They may have to stop other duties to come. So I appreciate that. In return, I share the findings. And I think it would turn out well for both parties. So as a researcher, when we are faced with a situation like this, we have to think of what to do. Case study number 2 concerns data collection. In the Asian community, Chinese respondents do not feel that it is necessary for them to sign the consent form, but they willingly participate in the study anyway. Now, we need to understand this from the Chinese tradition background. Agreements are sealed by the gentleman's honor. Businessmen can say, I will order 1,000 crates of something from you, and they will order that 1,000 crates of something. They don't need an agreement to say that I will do it. So, gentleman's honor. Maybe something of the past by now, but still, a lot of them may go by this. So, they do not want to sign on the piece of paper to say, I agree. Okay, now the dilemma is this. In Western research ethics, we must get them to sign the consent form. Only then we can start interviewing them and getting them to participate in the study, even filling in questionnaires. And they say, no, I don't want to sign. So what do you do now about the informed consent form? You can say, it's all right then, I'll go and look for somebody else. I think you should not take this approach. It is very hard to find respondents. This person is willing to participate in the study, just not willing to sign the consent form. I think this is the time when we can explain why we need to do this informed consent form. We need to explain something about the research ethics and how things are done, that this is actually to be sure that they have agreed, and it's also required of me as a researcher. Just explain all the things about research ethics and appeal to them again. Appeal to them, say, can you please just help me with this? All right. And I think they will agree after they understand. They also need to be given assurance that we are not going to use the signature for other purposes. Because one of the reasons they refuse to sign is they see signatures as some legal matters, that they are signing away something. So we need to assure them that the signature is only for this, to show that you have agreed to participate. It will not be used for anything else. Your signature will also not be used for any scam and other purposes. It is very important that researcher assures the participants this. Next, case study number 3, also concerning data collection. A master student said this: this is encountered by a master student. During an interview, the respondent started to interview me, asking me what Asians think of Westerners. What is the best thing to do? You know, in a typical interview, research interview, the interviewer or the researcher talks 30% of the time, mostly asking questions and listening to the answers and prompting. And 70% of the talking is done by the respondents. In this case, the tables turn and the respondents want to listen to what we have to say. What is the best thing to do? Some have told me that they will give a short response to give their views. I would say, no, you should not do it. Some of them actually told me they would tell the respondent, this is an interview. I'm the one asking questions and you are the one supposed to be answering questions, not the other way around. No, please don't ever do this, because a researcher is desperate to get respondents. A researcher is not above the respondent. We are equals if actually they are above us because we are begging them to give us their time. So please never talk in that manner. Say very nicely, conversationally, say, yeah, that is very interesting. I'll tell you later after I have finished with all these questions. Definitely, I'll tell you later. And I think they can accept that. So at the end, when you switch off the recording, you can give your views. It is fine because the interview is formally over. And some of them went into this because maybe we are very good at creating the interview. They felt that it was a conversation and it's two-way. They did not remember it's supposed to be one-sided. So it is important that we know who we are and where we are in this whole research process. My closing remark is this: research ethics is not as straightforward as it seems. And the researcher needs to be clear about his or her role as a researcher and the promises or guarantees that he or she has given to the participants. You could encounter moral dilemmas whether to report the person to the police or not. But remember, you have guaranteed the person anonymity, and you have also guaranteed the person that the data will be kept securely, will not be disclosed to others. And I think as a researcher, the promises need to be honored. So think carefully first before you embark on certain studies if you are unable to handle situations and moral dilemmas that arise. Do not let your words be very cheap in front of the respondents, because you are actually creating a very bad image for researchers everywhere, and also not complying with the research ethics that you supposedly are to follow. I quote from World Health Organization 2023. Research ethics govern the standards of conduct for scientific researchers. And why? It is important to adhere to ethical principles in order to protect the dignity, rights, and welfare of research participants. So I leave this with you and hope that you bear the respondents in mind. Thank you.